Greg, do you see your son spinning around all over the place here in a room that is presently empty because he's running back and forth to makeup, trying to get everyone started, and everyone's just eating muffins?
Sure, yeah. Spinning like a dreidel over there.
Do you understand what's happening around here where I've asked Chris that I want to start the show a little bit earlier so the YouTube audience could have a little more privacy with us?
Sure.
And Chris is running back and forth like his hair is on fire because he's trying to get people out of a makeup room, a very small makeup room, by the way.
It's incredibly small. It's as crowded as Grand Central Station in there.
Yeah, that's the third time you've made that joke. My dad walked out of there trying to get
When's
makeup.
the last time you were in Grand Central Station?
It's been a while.
So do you even know if people are using Grand Central Station the way that they used to?
Yeah, it's got the big elaborate stairways and everything. That was one of my dad's, Wild Bill Cody. That was his expression for anything that was crowded.
You do realize, though, that you are now in the portion of your life and career where you make these same jokes, like they're cliches. They're not cliches to everybody, but you make them so often that they're your personal cliches.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
It's not really. It's lazy. You're a man that's very good with the language, and you need to mix it up every time. You shouldn't be saying things that are bland, that are vanilla, because I've heard them for 50 years.
Okay, I disagree with that. Grand Central Station is an evergreen. It's a classic. They could tear the building down. Grand Central Station could no longer exist, and it would still work as a metaphor for, wow, it's crowded in here. It's like Grand Central Station in here. That's a family heirloom, okay, that I'm passing down to Christopher.
Chris, how often on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody?
Thanks for the mention, though.
Are you annoyed or frustrated by your father in general because he's just saying things he's said all your life, saying expressions? Every time I'm around your dad, I am being pelted on the side of the face with 12 expressions that I've heard for 30 years.
Same. And everyone's always like, how are we still discovering these? But like once a week he says something in here and I'm like, yep, been hearing that my whole life.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, nothing's wrong with it. It's just you're odd.
I think it's also lazy though. I'm judging it. I'm saying
that kind of thing.
He's right though.
Welcome, Billy. Welcome
Isn't there
back.
like a difference between like Grand Central Station and Grand Central Terminal? Or am I wrong about that?
Grand Central Terminal doesn't have a ring to it.
I think the only reason that he said Grand Central Station for as long as he has is because it's a rhythmic musical phrase that is funny. He doesn't even care about the bustle of Grand Central Station. It's it's the comedic phrasing. And in fact, you ruined the joke, Billy. Let me do this here. Hold on a second.
Got a minor penalty, 2 minutes for ruining comedy.
You ruined the joke by making it Grand Central Terminal. It doesn't sound as funny.
Terminal is a word that means dead.
That too.
So I have to leave now?
Well, I don't know what the rules are during what isn't the Shadow Show anymore and what the listeners have rejected as the Trickling In show. But here's Stugotz now as well. You look surprisingly, Billy, fresh-faced for what it is that you guys just did back and forth to Arizona.
What does that mean, fresh-faced?
You
look good.
You don't look weary, broken, tired by just flying back and forth. Did you get some reprieve or relief from being dad for a weekend?
No, my family went with me.
He
on
brought
this
his
trip.
kids.
Yeah, we went. I took them up. I took them up early, out of pocket. Took them up early.
Move.
Thursday went up. We had a nice little desert experience. We went to Sedona, which is very nice on one of the days. And we went for a nature trail yesterday before we flew back, but it got us in late, which I'm not like, I don't love flying. I'm not like afraid of it, that I've kind of moved past that, but like I don't just like sitting still for a long time. Great when your team is playing a football game on a long flight. Oh, that was incredible. I got to watch the Dolphins game. I watched everything up until like the mid-fourth quarter, and then I just watched it on my phone as I was waiting for checked bags. What a delight. What a delight.
Wow, you are the only person in the history of checked bags at Miami Airport saying what a delight.
Someone came up to me. Technology is incredible now. You have, a television at the palm of your hands every day, right? In the palm of your hands. But like you have it. I couldn't take a step without watching the game if I didn't want to yesterday. Someone actually came up to me, a man that worked at the airport, tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Are you watching the game?" And I was about to tell him, like, "Yeah, fins up. We're about to win this one." He's like, "It's on the TV right there." I was like, "Hey, thanks, buddy." Put the phone back in my pocket, watched the end of the game. What a game. Jason Sanders, huh? Over 1.5 field goals.
Stop it, Billy.
Why do you say stop it?
I mean, he's had his eye on Jason Sanders for nearly 3 years now, and then he puts a bet in on Jason Sanders over 1.5 field goals, and suddenly he's the biggest Jason Sanders fan in the world.
Not the biggest Jason Sanders fans, but Billy's Big Board Bets, another big weekend. We had 3 picks for our live stream, 2 and 1 on that, and then I had my 3 picks for yesterday's Monday Nighter on the Monday episode of God Bless Football, 2 and 1 on that one too. I'm damn near. I got to check the records here, but I think I'm like 29 and 14 at the moment.
It's funny that you say that because all I saw was you holding up a sign that said Achan over 104
Yeah, he
and a
really
half
pooped the
yards
bed.
passing or receiving and rushing, and so I took that bet. It's the only
No,
one.
you should have taken all of them. That was the one not to take. You know the problem with that is when you have multiple like negative 10-yard plays, really hard to get that done. Really hard when you keep losing yards. Because every time you gain yards, like that's good. But if you lose yards, the yards you gained, they're out the window. They didn't even count, so it didn't matter.
Jessica, Lucy, you guys have been doing more traveling than most around here recently. Do you guys find Miami International baggage claim as sad as anywhere in your travels that you will find? Because I find that area to be very sad, slow. It feels a bit third world. It doesn't make me feel like I'm in a big city getting my bags in Miami.
Yes and no. So a lot of the time I fly out the Charlotte airport, which is where all dreams go to die. That place is terrible. I've waited like an hour plus for my bag at the Charlotte airport before. The Miami one, it doesn't feel nice, but I will say it's the airport I fly to where I see the most people waiting with balloons and signs more than anywhere else. And it always makes me feel really warm inside. So I think it sort of cancels it out.
I've never checked a bag at Miami ever.
Ever?
I avoid it at all costs. No, do not check
Smart.
a bag. Never
Yeah.
check a bag.
Got a backlight.
Surprised Dan has checked the bag.
I'm surprised he waits for his own bag. Too.
Sam, yeah.
That's accurate. Every single time I've checked a bag at Miami, they've had to buy me a new suitcase because they've broken it.
Really?
Yeah, it's happened to me like 3 or 4 times.
They buy you a new suitcase?
Yeah, so
like
you,
of your choosing?
Yeah, no. So you have to if your suitcase is broken, this is what you do. I have learned the hard way. You go and immediately check after baggage claim, make sure everything is right, and then you have to go to whatever your airline counter is immediately. Don't go home because they won't let you send pictures. You have to go and do it in person, and you have to show them your bag, and they're like, okay, yeah, we broke that. Sorry about that. And then you go and you submit a receipt for your luggage, which I usually just buy a new luggage and then submit that receipt, and then they'll pay you back in like a month.
Dan, when your valet is waiting for your baggage, does he report back to you whether it's taking a long time?
You guys are funny with this, but I regularly wait for my own bag.
That's crazy. I've got you with somebody has the sign that says Le Batard.
Well, I have that too.
Oh, okay. I was making.
I do have.
Right, but we have you in the car and that guy waiting for the bags.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't know which bag it is.
The
No.
sign doesn't say Le Batard because that would be an invasion
Yeah.
of privacy.
It's
You've
Jack
got
Spade.
a code name.
What is your nom de plume?
I don't have a nom de plume. It just says Le Batard.
Carl Morris.
That's hard to believe.
When you say you wait for bags, you wait at the carousel, you wait for Jeeves to bring it over.
You guys keep making same versions of the same jokes, but but you're ignoring that I'm telling you that I probably stand in baggage claim just as much as you do.
We're not ignoring it. We just don't believe it.
Okay,
But your butler's named Jeeves, right?
Juan.
Mike.
My fake name is Flackman.
Flackman, what's the first name?
Card Jack.
Jack Flackman. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
Looks funny on a card too.
Yeah, Jack Flackman. With a K, double C, one C. How are we spelling Flackman?
CK.
CK. All right.
FLACKMAN, the standard spelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. What am I going to put, Cody? It's an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's an invasion of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm washing my hands in a bathroom, a public bathroom, the loud hand dryer is an invasion of my privacy. I don't want people to know I'm in the bathroom drying my hands.
Right.
I'm gonna wash. I don't want paper towels either. I want to come out of the bathroom with wet hands. You shake them like that, and then you air dry them.
Yeah,
Old school.
you go like this.
Yeah.
Air
That's how
dry
we
'em.
used to do it.
Yeah.
What did you hear about David Sampson's bathroom?
What about it?
The amount of towel options you have there, it's crazy.
Really?
Just don't use the wrong one.
Have you been there?
No, he talked about it the other day. He's got a hand towel, an ass towel, and a body towel.
My dad's the opposite. One towel for everything.
Seems like he wants no towels, though.
Right. I want no towels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't need them.
Your father's unclean.
Hair? No. I
Your
wash my
your
hands.
father's
Yeah.
just generally unclean.
No, that's not true. I have hygiene out the ass. Like,
Yeah,
I am-
you tell them.
No, I'm
You tell them.
I lead the league in hygiene.
Yes.
Okay, when I'm in the bathroom, I wash my hands. I even use soap.
Your
I rinse-
last podcast was your wife actively
even used
disgusted by you.
I know, and since then I've bought a toilet brush. I learn. You know, I'm an old chunk of coal, but I'm gonna be a diamond someday. His name is Cooper, good at running curls. But when his hammy got a tear, he saw Puka standing there, his blade diminished. Hostile takeover. Nakua hopped into the car. McVay has maybe found a star, and then Matt Stafford threw him 25 and 2. Oh, there's a brand new kid in town out of BYU. They call him Puka. Puka Nakua. His quarterback is not named Tua. Yeah, he is Puka. Puka Nakua. Fantasy assassin, it's the time to cash in. Yeah, it's Puka. Don't need the glow. Don't need the glow.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Jessica, you've been able your entire time in Miami to avoid baggage claim at Miami International Airport. You pack so light that you've been able to always avoid that? Because I can't avoid that. I would love to be able to avoid. What Lucy is seeing at MIA, I think, is where she sees all the balloons and stuff. I think that's a lot of international stuff, and I think that's people coming in from Cuba, and people are like reuniting with family is what Lucy's seeing there. That's a happy part of the airport. The saddest part of one of the saddest airports in America is that baggage claim, and I can't believe Jessica's been able to avoid it.
I don't pack light. I pack very heavy, but I compact it all into one luggage thing that is a carry-on size. I don't actually have packing cubes. I don't need packing cubes. I shove that shit in. I sit on my suitcase, I zip it up, and then I use like the jaws of life to put it in the overhead compartment by myself. And then I pack a second bag to the brim that I can barely lift up and put that under the
just to avoid to purposely avoid
Yeah,
that particular sad baggage
I don't
claim.
mess with baggage claim. I don't mess with checked bags. If it doesn't fit in my carry-ons, I'm not bringing it. I don't need it. I will never check a bag.
But you're saying you do this at any airport. This is not specific
No,
to
this-
Miami
correct.
Airport.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would do it at nice LaGuardia. It doesn't matter if it's Miami. LaGuardia baggage claim, so nice.
They've
It's so
really
nice.
improved LaGuardia. I don't know
It's
what.
great,
I don't know
yeah.
how much money they've poured into LaGuardia.
Billions of dollars.
It was such a dump, and now they've made it lovely. And I wonder why no one in Miami is doing anything comparable.
Why is Miami International Airport so bad? Like, I think it's fine. It's just an airport, right? Like, I'm
No,
not
it's
trying.
bad.
It's fine. It's a good enough airport. I'm not trying to live there. Like, I'm just kind of getting in there, getting on a bird.
Right. You're trying to get in and out.
In and out,
I mean,
get on
I'm
the
not
bird, get off the
hanging
bird.
out.
Exactly right. I'm not looking
One
to
of the problems
out in a
is
lounge,
baggage
I mean.
claim makes it so you can't get in and out, and
been
it
fine.
suggests to me that you guys aren't seeing a whole lot of airports. If you're seeing this,
I mean,
one,
Miami's not the worst. I've been to a
It's
lot
pretty-
worse
There's
airports
goo
than
coming
Miami.
out of the
It's pretty
ceiling.
bad.
There's goo
Antifreeze.
coming out of the ceiling.
Yeah,
they do a
that's
little
fine.
tube into a garbage
And a
can.
raccoon, I think.
That was at LaGuardia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Is
no,
there
was
any-
that at JFK? I don't. JFK is gross.
Is there any better feeling in the world than when you sit on a like stuffed luggage and then you close that extra compartment that opens up and you're like, yeah, I made this the small one. This
Hell
fits
yeah.
now.
Love that.
Huh.
Good feeling.
Dan, you know the feeling?
There are better feelings than that.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
There are
Name
yes,
one.
Yeah. Yes,
in
and.
all of your Billy, go sit out for go sit outside. for a
Really?
little while.
He just
Yes,
got back.
Yes,
I
go
mean-
ahead.
He
Just
was right
get-
though.
just
It's a
get-
great feeling. I did
It
it
is a
last
great
weekend.
Yeah,
Did
but
it this
I
morning.
needed him to keep the show for a second. I was looking down at papers and he did it on purpose.
No, he
like I
did
needed
not.
him to hold on to the show for a second.
He's tired. I mean, you sent him out to the penalty box, no specific time. When should he come back? I mean,
I don't know.
okay.
I think we're all in shock here because LaGuardia has been rated the greatest airport in America all of a sudden. And my entire life, I have experienced that place as a hellhole. And I will not believe it until I go see it myself.
No, it's so. Lizzie, I'm telling you, I got a $7 cold brew at a LaGuardia Bubby's last week. They have made it like the fancy person's airport. It's ridiculous.
They fixed it. What LaGuardia used to be, which was puzzling to me because I'm like, New York, you're a giant city with all the money. How can you have such a terrible airport? And then it seemed like from 6 months to the next, I know they did some construction, but it's not just that they did it. They did it in an enormously fast fashion and took their airport from 1980.
It
Well,
was not fast. The bathrooms, though, the bathrooms are so nice. Love taking a piss in those bathrooms. It is just the nicest bathroom you'll ever see in New York City.
It doesn't have one of those hand dryers where it's next to the sink so the water just blows back in your face, because that's like new technology, but I also didn't think they thought that through because that water just comes right back at you.
Don't get me started on hair dryers or hand dryers.
I want to get you started.
No, it used to be just the one that blew out from a round thing.
Yes.
And now it's these ones where you got to put your hands like this.
Right, inside,
Yeah,
yes.
it's
right.
It's uncleanly.
Everyone else has stuck their hands in there.
Everyone's
Yes.
touching it and going like this, and it's counterproductive.
But
Did you
airports
learn
are-
anything.
Airports are all about food, are they not? Like
Yeah.
that's all you really care about.
Food, booze,
Right.
flight.
I'll go to Miami just to hit that Nathan's. I will. Miami International. It's
all
the
right,
nicest Nathan's.
I don't want to do this again. Stugotz, please, reruns on the Nathan's Airport at Miami. Like, I don't want to do this again with you.
Crinkle
I didn't
fries.
bring up airports. You did.
I
mean,
don't. The only information you have on airports is that you like the Nathans.
That
Like
is
this-
how I judge an airport, the food situation.
Thank you.
I like to take a good lap, go right. Even if my gate's to the left, I'm walking right. I got to see what they got to offer.
Right. Yeah.
And then you walk over there, and it's just like a zona fresca. It's like, God damn it.
Right.
I wanted something
Very
better than this.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami's disappointing that way too. I don't know how many airports you're traveling to that you think the Miami International Airport is not an international embarrassment.
I feel like the SkyTrain is also always broken and always under construction. And there have been times where I have almost missed my flight, even though I got there very early, because you have to walk a mile to your gate. It's crazy.
I'm curious among us who are the big travelers here, because Stugotz's airport information isn't very good if he thinks that the Miami International Airport is an airport in America that doesn't pale to any other good airports. It is an abomination.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a great airport. I've been to O'Hare. That's a disaster for me because when you land, it takes, probably 20
just
minutes to
big,
get to the
right?
gate. Yeah, it's just too big. You're taking trains. You're doing a lot of work in that airport. Miami Airport, I'm not saying it's the greatest airport in the world. I'm just saying it serves its purpose. It's not the worst. I've seen worse airports.
It's a misuse of space. It's huge.
No,
You've got a
stop.
whole area where it's like high-end shopping. Who does all that on their way to, I don't know, Milwaukee?
Travelers.
International travelers.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
That's-
it might not be useful to you, but it's useful to someone. There's a reason those stores are there.
It
I
makes
mean,
the concourse so long, and you have to just walk for miles. If you have to take a train,
Right.
I hate your airport.
I
Dallas
agree.
Airport, get out of here with
That's
that. You
fair.
have to go in
Yes.
circles.
Yes.
That's the way I judge airports. If I have a tight connection, if I have like a 45-minute connection, I don't want to feel stressed. Like I got to take 2 trains and a trolley and a tram to get into a different terminal.
You want to get off your plane, and your next plane's right at the next gate.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I will fly in and out of Fort Lauderdale to avoid Miami. even if the flight
Yes.
isn't quite as convenient.
Fort Lauderdale
even
is
if
not
more.
great.
I
Oh, it's
like
so
it a
much
lot
better than Miami.
Really?
I can also tell you that Miami has no direct flights to Milwaukee. They have no direct flights anywhere.
Who wants to go there, though? Respectfully.
I want to ask the group here off of last night's game, and I'm serious about this. How am I to talk today about the 3-6 Miami Dolphins? And the reason that I ask you this question, okay, because I'm doing a lot of reading these days during these dark times. And Mark Twain has the quote, and it hit me in the heart, this quote: "It's better to be an optimist who is sometimes wrong than a pessimist who is always right." I have been the pessimist who is always right about the Dolphins for 25 years. And it's a suffering. I don't want to live my life like this. I also don't want to live a life that has to pay attention to last night's game. Has to pay attention because a 2-6 team is winning to make themselves 3-6. And it's, to me, and they've got an easy schedule the rest of the way.
Yes.
So it's going to be another one of these dumbass dances of try to get there, and if you get there, like physically crawling on your hands and knees, and then lose in the first round because you spent the season losing. And it's just another recyclable, but that's not the mood today when you go on the West Coast and win a football game.
That was a big win for the Dolphins. I know you don't want to hear that today, but it puts them back into the playoff mix. It really does,
It does.
Dan. I mean, you don't think this team with Tua, they're a different team with Tua. We can all agree. We can get to why is Tua trying to tackle someone when he throws an interception a little bit later, but you could agree this is a different team with Tua, and when their wide receivers are healthy, the defense is coming around. Like, I could see this team making it to the playoffs and possibly winning a game or two.
See, I hate this.
Really?
This is, yeah, because if
But
I'm,
Dan, that's what football
All right,
is.
but
It's
Stugotz,
hope.
So I do this with the Saints today.
Well-
If you're driving through New Orleans right now and they're talking about that victory the same way,
Right.
you're like, that's ridiculous. You're like listening. Anybody who turned 3-6 or 3-7 yesterday with a win, you're not listening to that show and being like, you know what? I do think that team can make a playoff run. If you've got 6 or 7 losses by this point in the season, 6 or 7 losses, I'm not counting on you to make a deep playoff run.
I understand that, but the conferences are different. So the Green Bay Packers are the 7th seed right now. They're 6-3. I don't think the Saints think they're going to catch them. But in the AFC, that final playoff spot is 5-5, and they're 3-6.
Yeah, but the final playoff spot, this is what I'm telling you about this damn sport that's so funny. All right, you leak in as a 6 seed. And what? You're going to go lose. Like, it's just because the playoffs are big.
Here you go. You play. Who are you going to play in the first round? The Bills. Well, you don't want to play the Bills. That's not going to be a good situation.
That's a defeatist attitude.
Hopefully the Chiefs fall. Yeah, look at this. How do you talk about this team? Second place Miami Dolphins, huh? Clicking on all cylinders
about
now.
that?
Yeah.
They haven't been healthy all season. They missed their quarterback for 4 games. Their top wide receiver had a mysterious knee surgery that no one knew about, that we only found out about because of his detainment, not arrest. And in said detainment, not arrest, he injured his wrist, which he wasn't able to play or able to practice on Friday, but he played through it. He's been hurt. Jalen Waddle, who they paid a ton of money to, can't catch the ball worth a darn. Like, that's what's going
Can't
on
see,
right
apparently.
now. Yeah. They had a guy that broke his orbital socket, and he's back to playing because he has a visor on now. And sure enough, you can break your orbital socket, but a week later, just put a piece of plastic in front of it, and you're good to go. Like, that's the team.
The defense was the revelation last night. If that defense can play the way it did against a healthy Rams offense, Aikman was saying last night, this is the best passing offense the Dolphins have faced all season, and they looked good. Like he said, Sealer being back, Javon Holland being back. I'm with you, Dan. This is not a Super Bowl team right now, but I don't agree with you that I'm fine being the 7 seed, fighting for a playoff spot. Even if you lose that game, it's better than just missing the playoffs.
They sacked Matthew Stafford 4 times, which is significant because they had 10 sacks all season going into last night's game. They were second to last in the league in defensive sacks. They're going to win the next 2 games to get to 5-6.
All right. See,
Okay?
that I'm not doing that with this team.
Why?
Okay, I'm just not.
I mean, it's
because
the
if Tua
Patriots-
gets hurt in the first quarter, you guys are all going to be surprised and then calling for his retirement.
Well, that's
like,
Chris Greer's
Well,
fault.
but that goes without saying. If
Right.
anybody
But- no,
gets
but-
hurt,
but I'm
if
saying-
Patrick Mahomes gets hurt right now, What happens to the Chiefs?
You trust Carson
you can
Wentz?
Say that about anybody.
They just won 2
I
Super
do.
Bowls, though. It's totally different.
It's not only totally different. What 2 Super Bowls and the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 20-something years. It's not just different there.
They're due.
It's also different from there's no margin for error left. These guys doing, that's a win, easy schedule, as if the Dolphins haven't been the easy thing on everyone's schedule for 5 weeks. It's funny.
I know, but now they're healthy and their quarterback is back, and they're playing at home the Raiders and the Patriots. Those are 2 games. I'm with Greg. They are going to win those games. I know you hate that, but they're going to win those games.
I look at the Dolphins' remaining schedule. There's a very reasonable pathway to 8 wins. What they're going to have to do is win a game you don't expect them to win. They're going to have to get to 9 wins. In this league, 9 wins is going to make the wild card, and
All right,
they can do
I
that.
don't trust a 9-8 team to win the Super Bowl.
No.
Maybe
the Packers did it as a 9-7 team.
I don't trust a 9-8 team. Stugotz, you can do outliers with me all day. You could do Trent Dilfer too. I don't want him as my quarterback. It's fine that he was a champion that one year. Don't want him or anyone like him ever as my quarterback.
The difference, though, is that if you do make the playoffs as the lowest seed, instead of just having a season where you don't and you lose a couple more games, it's the difference between like a top 15 pick and like a bottom of the first round pick, right? Like that's sort of what you're playing for at that point.
If I may. Because being a
You may.
Dolphins fan for as long as Dan has been a Dolphins fan is different than any other fandom. And so, yes, I think if you look at the big picture and say, okay, that team could end up, whatever that number is, 9-8 and squeak into the playoffs, that's fine. But having to watch the entire way this team that you think is supposed to be explosive, but what they get Tyreek Hill a 1-yard touchdown just so he can celebrate. Like, it's not fun to watch. You're watching with your eyes covered because you don't want Tua to get hurt. You think the running game is good, but you really have a running game that's reliable that you can give a running back 30 carries to and let them carry you. No, it just doesn't seem like it's a sustainable thing, and it's certainly not fun to watch this way.
Not like last year. I mean, the drop-off offensively from last year is epic, but they're still a team that has a chance. If you're a Dolphin fan, you're allowed to hope. It's not illegal to hope.
I'm very frustrated by this. I can't help but be frustrated by this because this has to be exasperating to listen to if you're not someone who cares about the Dolphins. You're like, really? They're going to do here comes the 3-6 team because they won a Monday night game.
Right.
They won the most recent game played. And so the last month where we have spent declaring that the season is over now changes because you get to 3-6. I can't do this today.
I don't think it's just last night's game. I think it's the fact that they played at Buffalo the week before. They played a very good game. They lost that game, but it's a game they could have won. Then they won last night's game. Dan, last year in the NFC, you had the Packers get in as the 7th seed at 9-8. They went on the road. They beat Dallas. Like, I think Dolphin fans would take something like that.
Okay, and Dolphin fans will take something like that. Of course, they're 3-6.
I know.
But they could be 5-4.
They'll take anything they will take that feels positive. And last night was positive. When Jessica speaks of draft picks, and this part, the evolution of this one has been super interesting to me in that sport where everyone's jostling for, do we want to trade you a 5th-round pick and a 4th-round pick? Because it's all about maneuvering to get value contracts, to find players you could just lock up because you got someone in the 4th round that no one was expecting you to, and then you could lock him up for a long time. So when she says the difference between a top 15 pick and a bottom 15 pick, I'd take right now the top 15 pick and say, be done with this Dolphin season. I don't need to see any more from this Dolphin season. I don't, because what it is that they're playing with, having their quarterback run around in service of this 1-yard passes to Tyreek Hill because the window is now, and it has no vision whatsoever. I'd take the top pick now and be done with the rest of the season. But I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do nationally with the fact that I'm sitting in a room full of people who, when they talk about the Dolphins, are going to get overly excited about getting to 3-6.
I'm just saying, they technically kept their season alive last night. I really think that's all any of us are saying.
But we're making fun of Jessica because her Steelers aren't that good with 2 losses, and we're saying that can't win deep in the playoffs.
That team is good.
That's crazy.
Thank you, Dan.
They're very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I texted Lehman at like 11 p.m. last night and said, they're going to talk about the Rams like they're the 2007 Patriots tomorrow morning. They're going to be so excited about this. guys, the Dolphins defense, they were good, but Matthew Stafford was bad. That Rams offense could not stop getting out of their own way. They couldn't stop making mistakes. They looked terrible last night. And that is a 500 team that has struggled this entire season. And yes, you can look down the schedule and look at Vegas and New England and the Jets and say, okay, we're going to win these games, but this is not an easy schedule. This is not an easy schedule,
baby.
and I love schedule talk. I see a loss, I see wins, but
It's
not
the
a lot
second
of them.
easiest schedule in the league. It is empirically the second easiest.
After the next, there's 2 games that are easy, and then it gets tough again. But it's just, I'm not ready to quit on this team yet. I'm just not ready to quit on this team. But the macro, Dan, it is sad that last year we felt like we had arrived. The Dolphins are a good team now. Yeah. And we're a year later, and we're back to just being middle of the road. So I'm with you on the macro.
Middle of the road is not 3-6. It's losing 2/3 of your games.
Dan, this is a middle, like
your starting quarterback missed 4 games.
Yeah.
This is a middle of the road team, like talent-wise. This is not one of the worst rosters in the league. But to your point, that's the last place you want to be, directly in the middle. So it's just sad that we seem to have gone from a good team back to being just one of those middle teams. And that, I agree with you. That is sad. I thought that our run of being a good team was going to last longer than just last year.
But that's all predicated on the quarterback being healthy. When your quarterback is healthy, you're a good team. Is that fair to say?
You're a good offense.
Right?
What's wrong with a little positivity and hope? Like, what's going on here? Exactly. Why can't we be happy? Why can't, like, yesterday was a big win. Why can't we be happy? Calais Campbell found the fountain of youth yesterday, apparently. Secured himself a spot in Canton last night. Like, we just want to be happy and positive about the team.
But
and it's like,
I'll tell you
like,
why.
No, boo, boo.
Because someone has to tug on the other side of the rope when we sound ridiculous celebrating a 3-6 team.
You guys sound ridiculous,
as
thinking
if
they don't
it
have a
means
shot.
something to win the only game played in football. We have to talk about that just because it was the only game played yesterday. Like, and I really, honestly, like, I know that when Dolphin fans hear this is not what anyone wants to do 12 hours after that victory is here. That they want to hear these guys celebrating this season as they have the last 20 and been wrong.
So give it to them.
No, you're letting the coaches and the front office off the hook if you're doing that. Because, yes, Tua got hurt. They knew that Tua had concussion issues going into the season. And what was their backup plan? What was the backup plan?
To not know that Skylar Thompson couldn't be their starter, and then to panic and then just go get a guy that they had to get 5 seconds of preparation for.
I'm good not talking about the game at all for the remainder of the show. What I want to talk about is why Tua feels the need to tackle. And the Dolphins should have a guy on the field that when Tua throws an interception, that guy's job is to tackle Tua to prevent Tua from trying to very gently. Two-hand touch. I mean, whatever, just shove him to the ground.
Block him.
Stugotz, which is it? Is it two-hand touch, shove him to the ground,
pick him up.
or
I don't
tackle
care.
him? What's the job you're offering? Somebody has to gently cradle him. Put it on the pole.
Hold him back.
At Le Batard Show, should the Dolphins give a roster spot to someone who gently cradles Tua whenever he throws an interception?
Or you just you get in his face, you say, hey, Tua, listen to me. When you throw an interception, you sit on the field crisscross applesauce. That's what you do immediately. You don't move. You don't run after the play. Wherever you are on the field, you sit crisscross applesauce. That's a funny visual of Tua just like in the middle of a play throwing an interception.
He's got a special skill to get his head wherever the action is. Like, it wasn't even just on this one. It was another offensive play. He's just reckless with his brain.
Well, in his defense, on this play where he tried to make a tackle, he's the last line of defense. He goes to the sideline.
No, he's not. There
look
were
at the
so
other,
many Dolphins.
The 72's right there.
I'm telling you.
No, Chris, look at the full image.
At the
he
other
was
angle.
not the last line of. Look, there's a player right there in the shot. Even
He turned his body. He did not use his head.
You can't coach it out of Tua, apparently, because he did it last week in Buffalo where he's diving head first. He's trying to dive at people's legs, now, which, by the way, is kind of a dirty hit, but he's trying to dive at people's legs here also. Like, Tua, I love Tua. I want Tua to succeed. I want him to be my long-term quarterback. I think that when he's healthy, he's good, obviously, with this system. However, it seems inevitable that this is going to happen again with the way that he plays, and he's not changing his style of play. So I don't know what you do with him because, like, you can feel bad for him. I feel bad for him that he keeps having these things happen, but he also keeps putting himself in positions for these to happen over and over again. So it's kind of like, Tua, buddy, I love you, but you're doing this to yourself. Like, what are we doing here?
I understand everything that everyone is saying. Totally reasonable. I will tell you guys again that warriors tend not to consider consequences. Otherwise, they wouldn't be warriors. And so what ends up happening in that situation is you are right. Not unlike George Pickens plays weird. Tua will find your knee with his head. I don't know how it is he's doing that, but he's scaring the hell out of us because we're all telling him, crisscross applesauce, stand up, sit down, have someone cradle you, something else. He's like, no, I'm going head first, right for the knees. Moving, running knees is where I'm going.
To the death of me.
He is so brave. I mean,
and in pursuit of let's get to 3 and 6.
You got to get to 3 and 6 before you can get to 9 and
Yeah.
7.
It
Dan,
beats
duh.
the
yeah.
alternative.
Do you? I think mathematically you don't.
No, you
actually.
do when you're 2 and 6. You got to get to 3 and 6 before you can get to 9
Well,
and
yes,
7.
when
It's
you're
simple
2
math.
and 6. Yes,
Yeah.
when you're
3,
2 and
4,
6.
5,
But
6,
you don't.
yeah.
Yes, when you're 2 and
You go on
6,
a run.
you do have to get to 3 and 6.
Yeah.
to
You
get
don't
to
think
9
this
and
team
7.
has a shot, huh?
I'm just so tired of the illusion that this sport is. Yes, they have a shot because every 2-win team has a shot. That doesn't mean they all actually have a shot.
Yeah, but can I ask you a question? 9-0 Kansas City. What do you think about them?
Yeah, all one-score wins. And, yes, I thought last year, just like Stugotz, they could be beaten. And they won the Super Bowl. And when the Dolphins went there with a lot of hope, they didn't get anything.
I like that Chris is acting like this is that 2006 Steelers-Colts game where Ben Roethlisberger was the literal last player and saved the tackle by
I know in
tackling
this
the
shot,
Colts player.
Armstead's there, but there's a shot when he's approaching where Tua is the last guy.
Was he a
Even
ghost?
if he is the
What's
last
happening
guy,
here?
so what? You're the quarterback.
Look, I'm just saying, it
He
would have
got
been an
kneed in
odd
the
look
head.
if Tua was just oop, and he got out of the way and let the guy go down
No,
the
you
field
say
and
it's an
score.
odd look. Jessica, you bring up that particular play call. It's one of the biggest arguments Stugotz and I have ever had on air. He finally, and he does this quietly, just wanders over to my side of the argument and makes the argument for a Dolphin roster spot going to someone to cradle Tua when he throws an interception. But on that play that you're talking about with Roethlisberger in a playoff game was the last line of defense. I'm yelling at Stugotz. The quarterback in every circumstance needs to, because he is so valuable against the salary cap, anytime he throws an interception, get the hell off of the field. Don't ever one time make a tackle. And Stugotz was arguing with me, not incorrectly, Dan, how ridiculous would it look if Tua throws an interception and immediately sprints away from all the action? Yes, it would look totally ridiculous. And I am here for it for the rest of his career.
Guys, there's a middle ground, which is don't put your head down. There is a middle ground, which is try to stay on your 2 feet with your head up and push the guy out of bounds. He put his head down and got kneed in the head.
He did not. He turned his body into that runner.
Yes.
He did not turn his. Look at it again.
but Dan is saying sprint away from that runner.
and I agree
Yes.
with him. but
Greg,
he did
how is
not-
he not lowering his
Look
head?
at his
He's
head
on
right
his
now.
knee.
Guys, he doesn't know how to tackle. He's just a guy trying not to die.
He
in
tried
this
to
sport.
make a
no,
body
he's not.
tackle.
I would argue he's not trying
What?
not to die there.
Right.
He's not wrapping the player. He's just dropping his body and putting his head directly in front of his knee.
That is not a man
No,
looking to
no,
not
he isn't.
die. I mean,
You guys aren't seeing the same play I'm looking at.
Greg, he got hit in the helmet with a knee.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
Turn-
he
show
did.
the-
Back
show
of
the
the
Chris,
helmet,
show the
yeah.
Chris angle.
Greg,
where
Did
the
it
ghost
happen
people are
another
playing.
time? Are you watching a different
Greg,
clip?
he does get hit by the runner's knee, hits him in the side of the helmet toward the bottom. It's not on his skull, but he is hit by a knee there by the runner. You see
there.
his helmet give there. I just don't think there is a middle ground here. I'm not arguing for the middle ground. I'm telling him to get down flat on the ground. Make sure no one can hit him. Get on your stomach, like fetal.
you're telling him to get off the field.
fetal position, whatever. Just whatever the way is.
Hey,
Whatever.
become a speed bump. Slow him down at least.
No speed bump. I don't want him anywhere near where the tackles are happening.
You guys don't look at the last couple games and say, wow, there's depth on this team. Jonnu Smith has become a great target for
Yes.
Tua. Yesterday, OBJ, 17 yards. There's weapons here.
Let's try it this way. Of the 3-win teams, this is the best one.
There you go, Dan.
I like it.
Is that fair?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, who's better than them with 3 wins?
I don't
Give
have
me a minute, I'll look.
Nobody.
I don't have the schedule in front of me. I just was worried about this 20 minutes ago.
I think if we can convince Dan by the end of the show to be hopeful for the Dolphins, then we have given all fans hope. And I think it should be a goal for
Well,
you,
let's
Stu.
do it another way, because I'm accused all the time of being in an insulated bubble where I don't get the real feelings of
Yeah,
America.
bad fan.
So that hurts so much.
I'm sorry.
You've really wounded me in a place that's
a
deeply
bad
personal to me. Yes.
You're incapable of being a fan.
Yes, no, I love when people judge my fandom as insufficient compared to their fandom. Coming from a total career homer. Lucy, I want to bring you in here because I want to know what you think of this talk as I wrestle with optimist, pessimist, what's the correct way to do this between the Miami audience and the national audience that's laughing at us as a Miami show because trying to talk yourself into 3-6 is pathetic 9 weeks into the season.
Aren't we supposed to be funny? Don't we want them laughing at us?
Good
Isn't
point.
that good? Right?
Yeah, very good
Laughing with us is what we prefer. Laughing because of things that we're doing.
Laughing. Yeah.
Mirthful, joyful. So you're experiencing, because I've seen you wander away. You ate an entire apple during this segment.
Okay.
An apple a day, Dan.
We have randomly just started. Look, in my defense, we have randomly just started the show early. No one told me we were doing that. So I had to eat breakfast because guess what? What if I passed out? It would have been good content, but it wouldn't have been good for me.
Most
Or
important meal
even
of the
worse,
day.
what if I was cranky because I was hungry?
Right?
You know,
Now
an
I'm
apple
not.
wakes you
Now
up more
I'm in
than
a good
coffee
mood,
does.
so I can be the optimist for your pessimist. You're welcome.
But you're surrounded by all of these people who are talking hopefully about a 3-6 team.
No, about a team that's about to be 5-6.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, if you look at the
There
NFL
you go.
standings, 2 weeks from now they're 5-6.
Well said.
And they're right back
It's
in
such
it.
a rallying
Yeah.
cry. It really is. It's what I signed up for when the Dolphins went all in this season. Can they get to 5-6 with the guaranteed 2 wins Cody gives you?
And don't let them get to 6-6 because if they do,
God forbid.
that is a statement.
Yep.
That win over the Packers to put them at 6-6. Don't let that happen, America, because then there's a train and you can't stop that from moving.
Was it the last Brian Flores season where they finished the season on like the 7-game win streak against all teams with the below 500 record, and everyone was like, "Hey, how about the Dolphins?"
What a year.
My favorite of those was Chad Pennington, top 5 in MVP. They go 11-5 in one-score games, get to the playoffs, and get ransacked by Ed Reed in the first round and Ray Lewis by 30 points.
I think he was the runner-up, Chad Pennington.
Yeah, I think he finished second because they won all these one-score games. You know who that is this year? The Chiefs are that this
You're hard
year.
to impress. Like
Yeah.
a team wins by 1 score. That does all these 1-score wins. It's just like there's more than just
No,
Super Bowl. Dan.
Chris, it's
A
not
playoff win
yes,
would be amazing.
Yes, but this is the part, though, where I stop you because the Dolphins have been on this particular treadmill in my lifetime, turning your father, the homer, who used to cover a national team. They became a regional team because of all of the 20 years of that. Oh, if we get there, we'll get a game, and then we'll go through Wanstead and Jimmy Johnson and run them out of town. And the 20 years after that, if we get a game in the playoffs, it'll mean something. And no team in the sport that puts into its rules equality where all the games are close, no team in the sport has done less playoff winning the last 20-something years than the Miami Dolphins. I've seen in my lifetime over the last 20 years, I've seen the Bills go from no playoff appearances in 17 years to now they're dominant. I've seen the Lions go from international laughingstock to now they're dominant. And you're still arguing with me 20 years after I had to endure 7 years of arguing about Tannehill. You're still saying, hey, 3-6 and hope. And I'm like, bleep out of here.
The Jets are still the Jets, though. I mean,
I don't understand. When we argue you need a ring to be successful, like we're bad, but the Dolphins need a ring to impress you.
No, they need to
Rings
not be
are nothing with this
3-6
guy.
with him guaranteeing that they'll get to 5-6.
Don't
and
let
that's
him get
what
to
I'm
6
supposed
and
to
6.
celebrate.
just view it as they're already 5-6. Try it
Wanna
that
know-
way.
Still a losing
Yes.
record.
1-0 in the last one.
But in the hunt.
I mean,
Guys, Dan's being very reasonable about this take.
Nah.
Okay.
I see what you're doing, though, Dan.
What happened to Yes and there, nah? What happened? Yeah.
Why couldn't Brian Flores just get on that boat? Just illegally meet and tamper with Tom Brady. Everything would have been different.
I think what Dan's doing is he recognizes that everybody wants to see him unhappy and to see him be wrong. And so he's basically getting the rest of the country onto the Dolphins, having them cheer with us. Don't let them get to 6-6. The rest of the country will be looking at you, Dan.
Statement.
Correct. Fans have to play the cards they're dealt.
Yeah.
Okay. Dolphin fans right now have been dealt a bad hand with Tua's 4-game injury with a 3-6 record.
It's a bad head more than a bad hand.
Okay, but the hand they're dealt right now is that we have 2 very, very, very winnable games. We're going to be 5-6, and then talk to me.
Okay.
That's the
Don't
hand.
let them get to 6-6.
And if the local media continues to say, "Hey, how about 5-6?" then the front office will continue to have no pressure on them to deliver
absolutely
something
not
better.
True. I wrote when Tua was hurt, I wrote a column second guessing their whole roster construct. This was the classic team with Tua's vulnerability. This was the team that needed a Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton. Somebody experiences a backup, and they didn't do it. That's a fatal flaw if they don't turn it around to make the playoffs.
I want to understand from you guys who are watching a half a season of football, and we're sitting here measuring it every single week, and we measure it even though we can't predict what kind of injuries there are. We can only guarantee you that there will be many, many injuries. When the Dolphins win that game on Monday night, with a point total, by the way, that is fine, but I don't think it's sustainable to consider that you're going to hold teams consistently like the Rams to 15 points and get into one of these games where they decide they're going to kick nothing but field goals. And they're going to, like, I'm watching the game and I legitimately can't tell. Is this the Dolphins doing it to them with 4 sacks, or is this the Rams just not functioning the way they normally function for whatever the reasons are that I'm not understanding, and they're getting stuck with 5 field goals instead of winning that game 35-23? When you go across the country and you play a team that's otherwise mediocre in a mediocre division that we're assuming San Francisco is going to win because we're not expecting Arizona to stay atop it, but all the teams in that division have 4 losses because everybody's got 4 losses because there are more bad teams in the league than there are good teams in the league.
For sure.
How do you do the analysis on what happened last night that isn't just merely, well, they're 3-6 and now they can be 5-6. I'm talking about real measurements about what you're watching, where they're a small underdog in that game because all of the teams are just about the same. And in this particular game, the Rams had to settle for 5 field goals in a way they don't usually have to settle for 5 field goals. Is it something that I'm just obligated to give the Dolphins credit for that? Or can I look at the Rams and be like, well, that's not normal for them?
I think most people don't expect their team to be fully formed or be ready to roll until playoff time. So you could argue that the Dolphins, without their quarterback for a little while, with some injuries they have to work through, figuring out which weapons are the best weapons, Jonnu Smith probably most reliable one. So you're saying to yourself, okay, just stay in the hunt while we figure this out. By week 16, 17, maybe this is the 70-point offense again. Maybe not, but it might be something better that gives you some hope. I'm just trying to let Dan know how to be a fan a little bit and not rule out your team for the rest of the season.
This is what fans do. I guarantee you Rams fans were doing the same thing last night. Their team looked dreadful. That offense looked dreadful, but they're looking at their schedule and trying to figure out what's the path for us to get to the playoffs. Dan, the Jets have never looked worse. I spent the entire plane ride home figuring out how the Jets could make it to the playoffs because that's what fans do. We hope.
You say that's what fans do, but that team has a coach and a quarterback that have won Super Bowls. This one has been watched for 2 decades in Miami, and you guys have been wrong for 2 decades making this argument with me. Like for 2 damn decades, you guys have been wrong every single time, hoping every single time.
But what are you afraid of? Because we're choosing to be happy here. You're afraid of being happy and trusting this team and then looking silly at the end of the year? Who cares?
Right.
Look silly then, be sad then. Why are you going to be sad for 18 weeks of the year? Be happy now. Be sad at the end.
A year ago, Tua made the Pro Bowl, stayed healthy. The Dolphins had the best or second best offense in the entire league. No apologies for coming into this season with high expectations. And I don't blame the whole thing on Tua missing 4 games, although that's a huge part of it. Since Tua's been back, they've scored 27, 28, and 23 points. That's not bad. That's much better than it had been. And the defense is healthier than it's been all season. Zach Seiler back in the lineup was huge last night.
Seiler.
And they were very good. You know, they had
Tomato.
Matthew Stafford looked bad because the Dolphins made him look bad. And so, you know, I'll be as optimistic as I want to be. While also
I get scared
being
of
realistic.
Seiler's name too, though. I got to be honest. It's happened the entire
It's
time
Seiler,
he's been on the
Seiler,
team. No,
you know,
I
it's
get scared.
ridiculous.
I got to be honest. I was scared when we sat across from him. I thought I was going to say Seiler as well.
Yeah, it should be Seiler.
Dan, what's in your hand?
Mike, organic as always. This is the coloring book that we are selling at lebatardaf.com. And you will see here, it is autographed by me, and everybody will autograph about 500 copies of this book. All of you, I've seen the books. They're all stacked up out there. Giant stacks of coloring books that will be signed by every member of our show. Right now, though, we're having some difficulty corralling Stugotz. I just saw him one of the security video cameras. He was waddling through the parking garage, smoking cigarettes, not signing the books. Mike, I don't see your signature on these books. Have you signed any of the 500
I've signed
books?
several books.
Okay.
You just picked one that didn't have my signature on it, but we're doing this in rotations. Everybody but Stugotz.
I will tell you, Stugotz will end up signing this, but I am proud of this book for a number of reasons. One of them is that my brother, is an artist, and Angel Resto does the art for my brother now that my brother is gone, and this is a memory of my brother that is meaningful to me, that we are doing to celebrate all of the ways that we look different than the average show. So lebatardaf.com is where you go. Mike, thank you. You are very good at these just natural, organic tosses that don't make these sound like a commercial at all. Exceptional work from you.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, just 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, it's not just a game, but a clash of cultures. And for my money, it's the best rivalry in college football. Every time they meet, it feels personal. You know why? Because it is. After 2021, the series took a hiatus, and conference realignment put it in further doubt. But the stars aligned. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, the Holy War is back. BYU and Utah.
Lucy agrees with this.
It's like a very sneaky, underrated rivalry. It's also weird because it's a very religious state, and there's a lot of hatred between these two schools.
And BYU is really dirty.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I don't really picture religious people as having a lot of hate in their hearts generally.
Yeah, you would be surprised. You'd
weird.
never, ever believe it, and they never use it as an excuse either.
Like the campus is dirty?
No, it's impeccable. The campus is impeccable.
Gorgeous.
The players have been for 30 years sneaky dirty.
Speaking of back, Mac Jones. Huh?
Not really.
Good to see him.
Was it? Not really. Not really.
Mac Jones.
3 interceptions.
Mac the knife.
Back Jones.
Mac the knife is your contribution?
Yes. He almost won the game.
Carved him up.
Yep. Like, act.
He had 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, they were sharp passes, though.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. I didn't watch the game.
Attaboy.
Who did? Minnesota and Jacksonville? Please. Got better things to do. I have to clean my fish tank.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Would you have preferred to clean your fish tank than watch 12-7 Vikings over Jags?
Cleveland Cavaliers do it in the playoffs. If Trey Lance is playing football, Trey Lance is throwing interceptions. I've always said, when you want to grow the game, you send Daniel Jones and Bryce Young across the pond. Munich, we're sorry.
You mentioned Trey Lance. I saw a stat. I can't credit the person because I don't have it in front of me, but that just on Sunday, Trey Lance finally threw more passes in high school, college, and the pros than Tom Brady did in his final season with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So Trey Lance, so Tom Brady threw more passes last season with the Bucks than Trey Lance has thrown in his entire life as a football player.
Carolina Panthers, back in the mix.
I give up.
Yeah.
Really?
I give up.
You're giving up?
Yeah. I give up on you guys. I give
Well,
up.
you know a 3-team win? Like, Dan, they have 3 wins. They're in the mix of the NFC. You know that, right?
Right, they are.
They're back.
No, they're not.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah. When Dan Campbell's quarterback throws 5 interceptions, he's got you right where he wants you. It's amazing. BYU staying undefeated with their Jewish quarterback, the BY Jew. Top 5 quarterback names, Dan. This would be their names if they were Jewish. You ready?
I don't know.
I love this list.
OLI. Bart Star of David.
That's an OLI?
Number 5. Daryl Lahanika.
Way to take your time with that one, Stu.
Number 4. Jew Bledsoe. Number 3. Bernie Kosher. Number 2. Derek Car Mitzvah.
I mean, come on.
Number 1. Patrick Schlahomes.
So close.
Shaloms. How did I mess that one up?
Brilliant.
Perfectly. That's how you messed
You
it up.
skipped OLI, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I was terrified of it.
Good job, Taylor.
Matt Ryan. Looks like CBS. Does he not?
He looks like what CBS thinks of as a young person.
If you are living in England and hear a mysterious creaking sound in the air, sorry about that.
Yeah, timing a little flawed.
Don't fret. It's only Manchester City's window finally coming to a close.
Really?
Yes.
Okay,
Fret.
that's it. Don't fret. The
Yeah,
window
don't
is close.
fret. Taylor. The Bears had 3 quarterbacks to choose from, and they somehow picked the wrong one. Bears are a playoff team with Drake May. Bears are a conference championship team with Bo Nix. Bears are a Super Bowl team with Jaden Daniels.
Jessica just said in my ear that she has breaking news.
Shane Waldron was fired.
Oh, really? Scapegoat.
Well, not really. There's been 2 offensive coordinators fired this year. One is Shane Waldron, the current Bears OC, and one is Luke Getsy, last year's Bears OC.
I haven't been watching enough Chicago football to say that that's coaching as opposed to 4 offensive linemen being out. Like, which
no,
is
it's
it?
it's all of the above, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Top 5 rookie quarterbacks. OLI, Caleb Williams. Number 5, Spencer Rattler. Number 4, Drake May. Number 3, Bo Nix. Number 2, the unknown of Michael Penix. And number 1, Jaden Daniels. Here comes Winnipeg.
What do you mean here they come?
They're good.
They've been here.
Wow.
Have they
Where?
lost?
What?
Have
I don't
they
know.
lost one time this season?
I have no idea. But that hockey team is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least somebody called Jets is winning.
Mm-hmm.
Who's on that team?
I don't know. Name a Jet.
Al Winnipeg.
Good contribution, Cody.
Thank you.
You really should do the Elvis there, pointing fingers, because you're so proud of your Al Winnipeg.
Perfect team for him to be on.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's stunning that they would draft him.
You think that's why they drafted him?
probably.
How many hockey players are there named Al?
Al
on it.
McGinnis, I mean. One of the all-time greats. Al Arbor.
Yeah. Good coach.
Mm-hmm. Great coach.
Yeah.
4 cups.
All-timer.
Yeah.
You want to look up for me? Because I asked how many players were named Al, and you gave me Al Arbor. When did Al
Al
Arbor?
McGinnis. I mean.
Give me,
Al
give,
Ovechkin.
give me Al.
Al.
Give me the life and times of Al Arbor and when the last time was that he was relevant, if you don't mind.
Al Arbor, born in 1932, died in 2015.
Yeah.
Al Horford.
Enjoyed a beautiful life in hockey. A hockey lifer. Real first name Alger, Alger.
Shortened it, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Al Jefferson.
Al Montoya.
Al Horford.
Why? Wait a minute. Why? I was just going to yell at Izzy for saying Al Horford when we're not doing basketball players, and then you're not listening, and then you go Al Horford.
I'm doing weekend observations. I'm sorry. Daniel Jones, Brian Dayball. Why don't you go ahead and stay in Germany? Top 5 athletes that connote Germany. Number 5, Brock Berlin. Number 4, Mia Hamm. Number 3, Taylor Heineke. Number 2, Mercedes Lewis. And number 1, John Wiener. Schnitzel.
Reggie Jackson?
Ooh, Mr. October.
Fest.
If college games were determined by feistiness, Georgia Tech would be undefeated. Dan, do you know what the U in the U stands for?
I do not.
Not undefeated. Mario Cristobal. Once a bad coach, always a bad coach. Biscoff cookies. Only taste good 35,000 feet up in the air. It's the only time you want one.
Yeah. Or see
You'll
one.
grab 2.
When you're trapped in a tube in the sky,
That's all they got.
it's the only time that you will eat those cookies.
Yep. For those keeping track at home, Mike Norvell should now spell his last name with 9 L's. LSU. Do it against Alabama. Brian Kelly isn't cool enough for LSU. It's not. We're wasting Saturday nights in Death Valley on Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, James Franklin, and Lincoln Riley are all the same coach. LSU bringing in a Tiger from Florida because their Tiger couldn't handle the crowd. You know what they say, Dan? If you have 2 Tigers, you don't have 1.
We got to talk to McGill about that later. I felt bad for all Tigers involved in that situation. All of that felt like cruelty.
Especially Nussmeier.
But we can all agree, if you're in need of a Tiger, Florida is the place to go.
I think we can agree with that.
All right, good. The Jets have the same record as the Panthers. I hate them.
What happened? I thought the Panthers were in the mix.
They are. And so are the Jets.
Damn
I
right
figured
they
out a path for the Jets. We're back. Speaking of back, Russell Wilson. Welcome back to Canton. That team is good, Dan.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Good coach, good defense.
Yeah. That's why you go out and get a Russell Wilson for the late game hard count.
Jessica says that's the best way to end a game in sports, better than the Hail Mary.
Walk off hard count.
Yeah, because you leave with the smugness of knowing that you were smarter than them at the end. It wasn't even better than them athletically, though you were that too. At the very end, the last thing is just a little poke in the eye that just, see, I'm smarter than you, and I get to be that all week. And people are going to remember that I was smarter than you. It feels better than even being better than you.
Every team in the NFL could have had Russell Wilson for free. Mike Tomlin, chess, everyone else, checkers. I love a good airport magazine. Back of the seat, airplane.
Oh, okay.
You know, gives you
that's an airplane. You mean
an airplane magazine.
You mean
yeah.
an airline magazine.
An airline magazine.
Skyball?
Yeah, you know, it shows all the doctors in the city that you're flying to in case you need heart surgery.
Yeah.
I mean,
Top 10 steakhouses, crossword puzzles, all the good stuff.
it's great, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Al Davis.
Sudoku puzzle, whatever that's called.
Oh, I love Sudoku. I don't know why I said it like you said it.
Huh. Where was I?
Love a
Airline
good- yeah.
magazines.
I don't know where I was. Chess, checkers, airport magazine. Every week I ask, which is the week Mike McCarthy is going to get fired? And every week it gets worse. When are they going to fire the guy? I mean, seriously, Deion Sanders is waiting. Can't wait for that to happen. If you look up value the football in the dictionary, you'll find a picture of the 2024 Army football team. Protect the ball. Congratulations to Lane Kiffin on the raise he's about to get for beating Georgia. Carson Beck is playing his way out of the draft. Kansas City with a second half shutout. Spags. You know what the S in Spag stands for, Dan?
Shut up.
You got it. Carolina versus Kansas. Couple of blue bloods cutting it up. Taylor.
I'd like you to start editing him.
Believe it or not, there was a time when me, Dan, and Greg could name every player on Carolina and Kansas. Me. We could, right?
Yeah.
Remember those times?
Absolutely.
Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Kenny Smith. You knew the team every single year. Now it changes constantly. I don't like college sports.
No.
Well, you're also paying far less attention.
Oh, no doubt.
That's the point.
It doesn't really have to do with their fault that you're not paying as
Bring
much
back Bobby
attention.
Knight.
Yeah. Watching a college.
Don't bring him back.
Let's
No,
throw metal
no,
chairs.
no.
He's
across
dead.
the
No,
wood.
don't need to bring him back.
Oh.
That's why he's asking to bring him back.
Yeah.
To life?
That's what he was asking, and I'm like, no, it's okay. It's gone.
Was it the tournament expanding from 64 to 68 that did it to you? Like that 4 extra was like too many.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Playing games.
Unnecessary.
Yeah. You know what the L in Lionel Messi stands for?
L.
Lost to a 9 seed. Good guess, though. I mean, I guess it is an L.
Same in spirit, yeah.
I hadn't seen a team from Miami choke that badly since the Canes did 5 hours earlier.
What a night.
It was a night. Miami, hockey town.
The hockey team's still very good. Hockey
Better
team
than
is
last year.
hockey team is still excellent. I don't know if I'd say they're better than last year.
Indiana beating Michigan. The rare trap game against the defending national champions. Congratulations to Indiana for playing in its first ever trap game where they're not the trap.
It is pretty amazing. Stugotz has that exactly right. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Congratulations to Indiana for playing in their first ever trap game. Yes or no? Where they're not the trap.
Where they're not the trap is important, yes. The Chargers, quietest 6-3 team in NFL history. Chiefs, Lions, Super Bowl, collision course. It's faint, very faint, but Bryce Young has a pulse. You know?
You're doing a lot with that Carolina victory.
I'm very happy for
They don't
Bryce.
come along very often.
I'm really surprised at
Only
what
couple
you're
of years,
doing.
I
A
mean.
3-point overtime victory against the Giants, making its way a couple of times into the weekend observation.
In Munich.
How are we 10 weeks into the NFL season and the Steelers haven't played a division game yet? How?
It's ridiculous.
How?
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It is. What week is it?
12, 11.
No division games.
So stupid.
Army had a 21-play drive that lasted 13 minutes and 54 seconds. You know what that is, Dan?
Chiefs football at the moment.
Well, it's football.
I hate that that's what they've turned the Chiefs into Army. That's what's happened. It's all 19-play drives for the Chiefs.
Are you saying something is off? What are you saying?
I'm just saying I don't like it.
I just put the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You heard that, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Todd Bowles coaches to lose. Baker Mayfield deserves better. Florida kicked a field goal down 42-0. You can't kick that sad of a field goal. It was 4th and goal from the 5. You can't do that just to put points on the board. You also can't give Napier an extension and then give him that extension under the umbrella that the team is playing really hard and they're feisty and they're going after it and they haven't given up on the season, and then they give up on the season. You can't do it. Why are they rehiring that guy?
Joke.
Thank you. If there's a will, Dan Campbell is going to find a way. Not properly observing Veterans Day. Meadowlark Media should be ashamed of themselves. You know what the M in Meadowlark Media stands for, Dan? Not military. You know what the S in Stugotz stands for, Dan? It stands for salute the troops.
Damn right.
That's what I was doing yesterday.
Yes.
Yep.
Too.
Thought you were here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We should clarify, Napier signed a 7-year contract in 2021.
He wasn't
He
re-signed.
was just. They're just saying they're not firing him. this
That's
year.
not the same.
That's
as,
like re-signing,
that's not
though.
the
It
same.
is.
Well, no, but
He
you
thought
made-
he was going to be
you
fired.
made
It's like
it
getting
sound
hired all over
You
again.
made it sound like a contract extension that he wasn't fired. You did make it sound like that.
I did. You're right. But in his mind, it feels like he got hired again, right, for a second time, because he knows he should be fired. I mean,
I don't believe that he feels today like he's been hired again.
Debo Samuel, pick on someone in your own tax bracket. Glad I traveled 2,363 miles to see the Jets suck. How am I doing? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Billy, what were the highlights from your trip to Arizona? I've heard back reports from fans, from sponsors, from Charles Barkley. I've heard that everybody had a good time there.
What'd Barkley say?
I was asking you about the highlights of everything. How was everything there? What did Barkley say to you guys?
I didn't talk to him. Stugotz talked to him. I felt bad for Charles Barkley because
Same,
he seemed to be just doing Charles Barkley things, and we kind of put a show in the middle of him doing his Charles Barkley thing. So, like, I feel like he goes in and out of that DraftKings Sportsbook regularly. I mean, not to, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that's just part of his routine. He goes there.
Sounded
maybe,
like you were judging it.
Not at all. No, he goes in there, plays the bet, goes play some golf, goes and cashes in, and then moves on with the rest of his day. And he just kind of is a regular there or whatever. It's just part of his routine where now there's like all these cameras and all these people and people wanted to take photos with him. So I did feel kind of bad for him in that we kind of threw off his routine of sorts.
I did as well, Dan. It's because, all our fans are out there, fans of the show, and Barkley's been a big part of the show. So he's getting mobbed. He's going to get mobbed anyway, but he's getting mobbed by our fans. I think he walks into that regularly, as Billy pointed out, puts in his bets, walks away, plays golf, comes back, cashes in the tickets. No one bothers him. He's in and out. But we had a great time. That DraftKings Sportsbook in Scottsdale, Arizona is phenomenal. And Smirnoff, we thank you for your continued support of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz and God Bless Football. We had a blast.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm telling you, you got to come on one of these. You do, because you'll see a lot of fans, they're so thankful, and they just want to say hello, and they just want to take a picture. And 20 years into this, I mean, it is a really nice feeling to be embraced by the fans the way Billy and I have been embraced at our two stops.
Yeah, it was really nice. I did do a fan dirty, though, and I apologize to said fan because, we were excited. We were having a good time, party-like atmosphere, and there was a fan there with a football. He was waving the football around, so I said, hey, toss me that football over there. And apparently security had told him to not throw that football earlier in the day. I did not know that was the situation.
You didn't get someone kicked out of that party, did
well,
you?
I said, throw me the football, so he threw me the football, and then what do you do when someone throws you a football? You got to throw it back, right? Even if you have like this canopy over you. So I threw a football across the DraftKings Sportsbook, and then moments later, security rushed over to that man and said, you got to go. No throwing footballs inside the DraftKings Sportsbook.
That's where you gotta wield your power a little bit there as the you're a talent there. But
I have
hey,
no power.
He can stay. Hey, he's fine.
No, look. So if you see this video, we're playing a video here. The guy was pretty excited about it. I didn't notice there was an autograph on it. I didn't know what the autograph was. I later found out Mike Ye signed that football for him. He wanted me and Stugotz to sign the football as well, but never got to talk to us because he got ejected. Maybe because of me earlier in the day. Yeah.
Were you afraid when that left your hand that you had overthrown it a little bit and was going to hit one of the what are those? I couldn't tell in the background.
Those are betting
those
machines.
Slot machines.
No,
or
that's where
betting
you
machines?
place your
betting machines.
Yeah, your
Yes.
picks. Yeah. If
It's
you notice,
heaven, Dan.
I showed some good judgment in that. You see that was over us there, and I decided let me walk out past that so I don't hit that because it was a small window, but. Yeah, got it over to the guy.
You weren't afraid of an overthrow there when it left your hand because it looks like it sails a little bit, this throw, and it looks
I
like
put it
that's
where
the
he could
reason
catch it.
they tell you
As you
not
can
to
see,
do that.
Where only he could catch it.
Yeah, if you
Yes,
see
right.
the man walking towards him that seems to be glowing from the sunlight, that is security looking to escort him out already for throwing the football. So I had to get it in over his head to make sure that our friend there, number 3, caught it.
That guy is ready to kick somebody out.
Oh, what a day for the Bird Gang, let me tell you. What a
like
city.
my
They
brother
embraced
back
us
there
like
in a Bulls
one of our own.
Do you guys think that we should be asking Ron McGill? Because I think we're going to make this a little bit sad if we start asking about the Tiger and we start asking about Greg Cody's contention that horses love to horse race and Greg Cody's contention that horses love to be on the highway going 90 miles an hour in the back of a very small trailer.
I'll go there with him.
Mm-hmm.
It depends how you present it. I feel like if Greg presents it properly, he'll agree with him. I feel like once we start leading the witness, Ron will then start siding with you guys.
I'll let Greg Cody
Yep.
lead that. Lucy, do you have any opinions on either one of these things? I know you have an opinion on the tiger and the crossing of state lines and just how spooked the tigers were in general by 90,000 people who smell like whiskey. But beyond that, horse racing also seems like something. I know he's going to defend it because he's a horse owner now. Calmly's a big winner overseas. But he's alleging continually that the horse enjoys driving on the highway in that small trailer at 90 miles an hour.
It's a horse owner.
It definitely doesn't. However, my mom is a horse girl. So so I do have it in my blood a little bit. She showed horses professionally, which is different than horse racing. That's just like, look how pretty my horse is.
She's not horsing around.
She's not horsing around. But yeah, she was a horse girl. That's actually kind of a bad trait to have. Being a horse girl is out. I don't know if that's why my parents are divorced, but it's probably part of it.
What?
Jessica and I winced at that. But you made both of us wince with a horsing around joke.
No, it's a good line.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, that's a bad ally to have.
That's a great ally to have. It's the only ally I want.
That is a terrible ally to have. The horsing around joke. Jessica and I reacted the same way on our faces if you'd hit us in the face with a flounder, a wet living flounder.
Lehman's dad did that once. He hit one of our friends in the face with a flounder.
He wasn't horsing around.
That's
What
really saying
happened?
something.
Lehman and his dad, they're big fish people. They love going fishing, and we went on a fishing trip, and one of our friends didn't really want to touch the fish. He didn't want to bait the hook. He didn't really want to be involved, but he wanted to enjoy being on the water. So when they caught a fish, Lehman's dad took it and slapped him in the face with it.
For not being enough of an outdoorsman, for being just generally fishing squeamish.
Exactly. And I don't think that it cured him.
I think he deserved it, though. I think if you go out on the boat and you're not willing to participate in anything, you deserve a flounder to the face.
I don't know. Fish are kind of slimy and yucky.
I know, but you got to participate in something. You're with you're a group of friends, a sense of community. Ron McGill has told us that he's eaten all sorts of things with indigenous people and whatnot because he's got to just be polite.
That's not the same thing.
If you go out on a boat, I believe it is the same thing. If you go out,
you think it's the same thing?
Yes. If you go out on a boat with fishermen who have treated you and are hosting you, you have to participate in something. It can't just be that you're disgusted by everything's too slimy for you. You got to participate in something.
Yes, that's the halibut.
That was a good one.
My experience with boaters is they invite me along just to keep my share of the fish.
What do you mean?
So, if you go to, lobster, mini season, where they're you want to come? And then it's, because you're only allowed a certain number per person. So I'm just a number to the people that get invited along.
Well, those people are catching a lot of
They just
lobster.
bring me on so then I'm ahead so that they can get more. And then they're like, thank you for your service. Now you can go now. And I don't get any of what my share was.
If you're not actually taking part or touching the fish, what are you doing? You're just standing there bopping around and
friends.
getting
Some sun.
You can
Good
do that
vibes.
anywhere. You
Drinking
can get
a
a public
beer.
sub anywhere. You don't have to eat it on the boat.
Well, you
You
can't
gotta
get a public
touch the
sub
fish.
anywhere.
Yeah, but that's true, first of all. But also, going out on the fishing boat is like an event. It costs a lot of money. You plan for it for a while. You got to get all your stuff together. Everyone kind of does their part. Everyone brings a cooler on board.
But you should be okay with getting
Extra set of
smacked in the face
hands.
with a fish if you don't touch the fish.
My dad's done the role of being the useless guy on the fishing trip that
No.
does nothing with the hook and just kind
I
of
have a hard time believing that.
just crushes
I don't
Miller
like-
Lights.
I don't like baiting a hook.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You go on the fishing trip, you crush Miller Lights.
Yeah. I don't like baiting a hook or taking a fish off the hook.
Yeah.
What do you like? What part?
Eating the fish.
The beer,
Yeah.
the beer,
Right,
the
the
beer,
beer.
the drinking
Duh.
of the Miller Lights.
I
is
like
what it-
eating a fish.
In Greg's defense, when you're on a boat, everyone has a role. And the people whose roles you don't know are the ones doing it best. The ones whose roles you know are the showy ones that are just trying to do it for appearance. Greg served a purpose on that boat, but he wasn't showy about it.
Right.
He did his job.
When you're salt life, you don't feel like you need to show off.
Exactly right.
You know.
Right.
He's
That
right
kind of
about
thing.
that.
Yeah.
You do need you need a fishing vibes. You need someone that's going to do the music, someone that's going to make sure everyone has a drink.
In
a
charge of
cold
safety.
beverage.
Did everyone make it back alive? Greg
No.
did his job.
Lucy, how are you? Good
Did he say
question,
no?
Billy. Good question. Lucy, you are how on a boat?
As I've gotten older, which this is embarrassing, I've started to get like more motion sick when I do stuff, which has really kind of been tough for me. I haven't been on a boat in a long time. I'm not going fishing ever. That's not my personality type.
Well, this is funny that you should mention this because the last time I was on a boat, I had a similar shame come upon me. It was actually, spreading some remains at sea and with some people who looked like the sea, like people who had leather. Just in general, the Captain Jack looked more like the sea than anyone I've ever seen at sea, and he's just handing me limes because I'm turning green, and evidently limes help somewhat with seasickness and scurvy, and so I embarrassed myself the last time I was at sea. You guys make fun of me. This is a true story.
Didn't you own a boat?
I did, but I didn't.
Like a Big Lebowski ashes situation, or
no, I didn't throw any of the ashes, and they didn't end up back in my face like John Goodman. No, but you made fun of me earlier in the show about Jeeves and my butler. Seasickness is so horrible that one time when I went out to Catalina Island one time on a boat and got so sick, throwing up into a bag and stuff, that I took a helicopter back. That I'm just like, I am absolutely not getting on a boat again
criminal.
And feeling like that. Yes, agreed. Yes.
You just had a helicopter on speed dial. Come get me?
Yeah,
his helicopter.
Come get me, please. Helicopter.
Poor Elise finding Dan a helicopter.
Are you just sick on boats or is it other things? Because my aunt, she gets like really bad like motion sickness. She can't go to IMAX movies because she'll throw up. It's so bad.
This has only happened to me a couple of times, but I would wish seasickness on no one. Like I'm telling you, one of the scariest things on television for me, any form of entertainment, is Deadliest Catch. Like everything happening. I saw a video the other day of one of these cruise ships that was at like a 45-degree angle and things were just falling down. It's one of my great horrors where I'm like, oh my God, no. To be in the middle of something as vast as the ocean and have no control over the vessel I'm in.
Dan, did you see Triangle of Sadness? Because if not, you really need to watch that movie.
No. Is that the one that makes fun of the rich? Isn't that
there is like a 10-minute long scene of people just vomiting and shitting in the middle of that movie? That is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. I think you would really enjoy it.
A triangle of sadness. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does Dan enjoy a triangle of sadness? Would Dan really enjoy a triangle of sadness? Didn't McKay have something to do with that? Didn't he executive produce that one or something like it?
I don't know. Did he?
Sounds like it based on
it seems like something he would produce.
Either that or isn't there a movie called Menu or something like that?
Oh, The Menu. That's a very, very similar sort of socioeconomic commentary being made, but just a sort of separate genre of film.
Have none of you been seasick? Have none of you?
I get car sick. I don't get seasick.
I get car sick too.
Yeah,
oh my God,
same.
my Uber driver last night, I thought I was going to throw up. It was horrible.
But Lucy, I only get car sick in the back seat of
Me
a car.
too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Same.
Yes.
It's probably because you're on your phone the whole time. You got to focus on the
No,
horizon.
that's not why. It's because the backseat of cars are the bumpiest rides in like 90% of cars. You just get jostled around. You feel every single bump on the road, and it makes you feel like you're going to throw up all over yourself.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Do you ever get motion sick in the front of the car? Is that unique to the back of the car? Lucy, what was happening in the car? Are you saying you're moving around a lot, or there was like a nightclub bass in the car?
No, he was just start, stop. And it was like he would slam on the brakes every single time, so it wouldn't be casual. Even if he was like inching up, he'd really hit the brakes.
Do you give that person a poor rating?
I never give anyone a rating ever. Unless it's like a really great like ride, I never give ratings, especially because like I think it's just in my brain where I'm like, they probably had a really bad day, and that's why he was slamming on his brakes really hard, even though those aren't correlated at all. But I never give ratings unless it was like a really wonderful experience.
Why do you you're actively abstaining from giving anyone any kind of feedback?
Honestly, truly, the reasoning behind it is I get out of that Uber and then I forget every single thing that happened to me over the last 30 minutes.
Dan,
Like,
have
it's
you
just
accidentally
out of sight, out of mind.
ever gotten into one of those party Ubers where there are like lights and dances and smoke? How are those legal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've thought that in Miami. I have enjoyed that though. I enjoy when all.
Were you
of a
just going
sudden-
to work?
Well, no. I'm coming home late at night from Fort Lauderdale, and next thing I know, there are lights and everything, and it's a distinctly Miami car and distinctly Miami music, and it's ridiculous.
You got to be ready for those. Like you can't just not expect one of those and then get a party in the car.
Right.
It's a bit of a surprise, but I'm not going to – I know my general temperament doesn't give off that I would be in the mood for
that you
something.
would roll with it.
That's something like that, but it was such a delightful surprise to see.
My helicopter does not have this much music. Get me out of here.
Elise, immediately get me a helicopter that has these bass capabilities.
Elise, I need a chopper.
Would you guys say that the way that the Dallas Cowboys game went on Sunday in terms of providing content is the best possible way any of that can go, where it's not merely a loss at home? And I gave you this stat yesterday from the illustrious Babe Laufenberg. The Cowboys have now been down 20-plus in 5 straight games at home. That's never happened in the history of the sport. Jerry Jones is all in. 5 straight games down 20-plus at home. That's good enough just for your content machine. But let's add some things to it. Receiver loses the ball in the sun. Micah Parsons can't stop podcasting. Just can't stop. It is such a wonderful thing. I have no idea how it is, Stugotz. This part is super interesting to me about how athletes of this generation are going to be impacted by just things that happen to athletes that are different now than they were 30 years ago, but temptation and danger is everywhere. I don't know why Sauce Gardner is bad now. Why is Sauce Gardner bad now?
The Jets.
No idea why Sauce Gardner is bad now.
Just told you.
But Micah Parsons is maybe the only real star that team has. Like, if you want to make an argument for Dak and CeeDee Lamb, maybe, okay. But I think in terms of creating a name, voice, platform for himself, and everyone regards him as excellent as well, consensus on excellence, the biggest star they got. And he's a podcast problem because he really likes his podcast. And he's not going to give away his personality to others for free. He's going to monetize it for himself. And then you've got Rex Ryan. Let's get to this sound here because Rex Ryan really took out Micah Parsons and you know how this is among the coaches. They do not like seeing their other coaches taken out, even though a week ago he was calling Mike McDaniel McGenius on the air. Now he's really going after Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons has questioned how much, how hard basically his coaching staff is working is what it feels like. McCarthy particularly.
Mike McCarthy, he doesn't deserve this damn comment. He doesn't. No coach does. Look, there's some horrible coaches out there, but none of them deserve this. The kind of work that they put in as coaches, I'm just telling you, you're giving up family time, you're giving up all kinds of stuff in your life, and you're going to get some ass sitting back. I don't care how talented he is. That is absolutely BS. And if you would work half as freaking hard as a damn coach does, maybe you'd be able to play every damn game. Maybe your team wouldn't just be a bunch of punks and lay it down every damn week like you're doing. How about being a damn football team? You're going to sell your damn coach out? It's a crock of you know what.
Emotional.
He said it, like half of it, right?
What was the context of Micah Parsons saying Mike can leave and go wherever he wants?
We have that clip here that we'll play. I took it more, he's talking about Zach. He's doing it through the prism of Zach Martin. Like, these coaches can go anywhere. I feel bad for the players that might be retiring after this year. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it was kind of taken out of context with the headlines, because he does say Mike McCarthy's name. But here's the full context of Micah Parsons.
You know, that's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, you know, all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year or on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
That can't be what Rex Ryan is reacting to. Rex Ryan can't be reacting that emotionally to those comments. There have to be other comments. It can't be that.
No, I mean, those are the comments.
Those are the comments.
He did go back on his podcast and kind of just reiterate what he said, but those are the original comments that Rex was speaking about.
Okay, because Rex Ryan was pretty emotional there defending the coaching profession and went after Micah Parsons so emotionally that logic ended up going out the window because he didn't really realize the excellence of the player he's criticizing. So he had to go after him. Maybe if you cared as much as McCarthy, you wouldn't be injured. Like
yeah,
that
but he's saying, but Micah is saying McCarthy is not, and the coaching staff is not putting the work in. And Rex is like, no, I know what goes into being a head coach of an NFL team. What are you talking about? Why are you saying that? Micah Parsons has 3 sacks this year. He's played in 5 games.
He's been injured.
I don't care. I don't want to hear from him. I mean,
It just feels very much like he read the headline. Never watched the video. That's because that was like when I saw the little headline on First Take or whatever, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Now watching that video, that's not what he said. Like, I just genuinely think he didn't watch it.
I did not hear that as a criticism of Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, it
in
wasn't.
any form.
Also, he's like Stugotz. He's whether or not he's hurt or not having like the all-star season you want him to have. Like Micah Parsons is like the star of this Dallas Cowboys team.
is he? I mean, I'm not certain. Like, I think Dak probably is. I think Jerry thinks the Cowboys are the star of the team. The star on the helmet is the star of the team.
Jerry
might
Jerry's
think Jerry
the
is the star of the team.
I heard
but
this-
all of this, to answer Dan's original question, all of this is good for Jerry. Because I'm not certain Jerry cares as much about winning than he does about the value of his franchise and everyone talking about his franchise, even during a bad season. And we're sitting here talking about the Cowboys today, and Jerry loves that.
The difference is that Micah doesn't feel a need to like impress Mike McCarthy. He's just worried about what Jerry feels like.
Yes.
I feel like in most organizations, even though every team has an owner, you're trying to keep in good graces with the head coach. Where on this organization,
right,
unlike any other team, it just feels like he knows I can kind of say whatever I want about McCarthy as long as I'm good with Jerry.
Well, that's because Jerry doesn't take the coach seriously. So if Jerry's not going to take the coach seriously, then Mike is going to say whatever he wants about the coach.
I think if you took a poll of players, GMs, coaches, Micah Parsons by far the most respected player, athlete, ability on that team. I think everybody else falls pretty far short. And if anybody can criticize the coach, my guess is it would be him. But I'm with you, Greg. I didn't hear that at all.
I think that one of the things that we do, and Stugotz just did it, and Rex Ryan just did it, and I do find it consistently maddening in the way that sports analysis is delivered. You disagree with someone or the behavior, and then you immediately diminish their excellence. And it's like, no, man, just criticize what the person said.
Right.
Don't say, is Micah Parsons a star?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, what are you doing? You just don't. You just
Giving
don't.
you my opinion.
Okay, but you're not. Your opinion isn't based on the facts or his excellence. It's just based on you disagree with something he did.
I mean, he's never had more than 14 sacks in a season. I mean, I'm not certain he's such a big star.
I mean, Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb are the 2 biggest stars on that team, along with Dak, only because he's a quarterback. But I do think there's an unwritten rule in the NFL that if you're injured, if you're not playing, you sort of shut up a little bit. Nobody wants to hear, and that wasn't being mouthy. Don't get me wrong.
And he played Sunday, and he played well.
He did. That's true. But he had missed like 5 games before that, and very hurtful games for the Cowboys.
Okay, but he was hurt.
I understand that.
Yeah, but if a player gets hurt and then they don't do any participate in the team or have thoughts or comments about the team or feel like they're part of the team, they get criticized for that too. So,
Well,
like, how much do you want an injured player to be part of your team?
Like if you have an injured player who's out several weeks, that player is never made available to the media, just
All
as
right.
a small example.
Okay, look, you are obviously entitled to say whatever it is that you want to say about this. What I'm not going to do is say that Micah Parsons isn't more excellent at what he does for the Cowboys than anyone else is in their facility over the last 10 years of Cowboys football. I don't think there has been anyone more excellent at what they do than what Micah Parsons is being asked to do for the Cowboys. And I give that kind of excellence a bit of a wide berth on opinion having, whether it is playing in the last 5 games because it is injured or not. Like, I just, what kind of excellence do I have to present? So Tom Brady's the only one who's allowed to say whatever he wants?
Yep,
Like,
him and Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Can we just rip on Rex Ryan? Because you said it yourself, as Chris just pointed out. He called McDaniel McGenius and is cool just ripping on him, but don't say anything about the Dallas Cowboys, coach.
That was weird. That last week he's fine criticizing McDaniel, making name calling, but this week it's hey, don't talk about the coaches.
It's coach on coach crime, though.
Guys,
This is player on coach crime.
Can you guys look something up for me, though? Because I thought what it is that got Rex Ryan angry and the emotion in what it is that he was saying was based on some sort of conclusion he was drawing on Mike McCarthy not working hard or not caring enough. Like, I thought what Rex Ryan was doing there was in defense of how hard coaches work and how much coaches care. And I didn't hear anything in Micah Parsons' commentary there that questioned or criticized that.
Can I make a potentially spicy take? Ooh. I don't really care what Rex Ryan thinks about the Dallas Cowboys.
No, but at the end of that Micah clip that we played, he does say he's working way more than Mike McCarthy. He says him by name. I think he means by that players work harder than coaches. But he says Mike McCarthy's name, so it can be taken as a shot at Mike McCarthy, even though I still stand by he was just building up like the veteran players.
He was saying McCarthy, if he does get fired, he can go anywhere. The guys he feel bad for, Zach Martin, who's been here forever, who puts in all the work, unlike Mike McCarthy, is essentially what he's saying.
But I would still, look, this part though, okay, so if I may go and turn this into another story, which is the San Francisco story that Kyle Shanahan, who has been ravaged by Key West, says has now been squashed. There is no problem with Deebo Samuel and the long snapper and the kicker. That's what Kyle Shanahan says. But I think what's happening here in both this instance and throughout football all over the place is the guys who give their body to the cause do think they're giving more than anyone else to the cause because they are. Like, whatever Mike McCarthy feels in terms of hurt on Mondays is emotional. It's not physical.
McCarthy's in there at 4 a.m., though.
Yeah, he is, but he's not in there with his body collapsing for reasons other than, he had a breakfast burrito.
That is the disconnect, though. The coaches are like, I'm in here 4 a.m. till 9 p.m. working these long hours, and the players are like, I got a concussion last week.
He's 61. His body probably hurts more than the players, to be perfectly honest with you.
Just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
NFL head coaches are clogging toilets before the players are even waking up.
There you go. Spicy.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. I don't think it was that spicy a take to not care what Rex
I took some Tums.
A little bite to it.
She said potentially spicy. She did. In her defense.
At Le Batard
Depends how
Show.
your spice tolerance, I guess.
Whose body hurts more? Whose body hurts more? 61-year-old coach getting out of bed in the morning? Football player waking up on Monday morning? Let's examine this for a second because
I think the coach.
Well, Stugotz has been doing a lot of flying lately. He's always complaining every day about his shoulder hurting and his back hurting.
Or third option, my friend who got slapped in the face with a fish.
Yeah. That is amazing. You said this was Lehman's father?
Lehman's father did it to Lehman's friend, and then Lehman was the best man at his wedding. How cute is that? He forgave him.
Wow.
Jessica, that is one of the most alpha moves I've ever heard. Hitting someone in the face with a fish.
I didn't think it happened in real life.
I have a video.
How big was the fish?
You're not enough of a fisherman for my liking. You have insulted my entire boating community and my outdoor sensibilities. How about a slimy fish across your face?
A challenge of a duel.
I have rarely heard a disrespect larger than hitting someone in the face with a fish that you're still holding. It's not even you don't even throw it at him. You're just slapping. Which is more insulting? Put this on the poll as well, Juju, at Le Batard Show. More insulting, slapping someone across the face with your hand or slapping someone across the face with a flounder?
Let's just state the obvious. If Lehman's dad did this to me, he would not be making it home from the fishing trip.
Wow. I mean, I don't think he would do it to you. I think I could accuse... I'm
a real alpha.
I could arrest him for assault, and he would run the prison, being in there as someone who slapped a friend of a son with a fish in the face.
What was it, in international waters?
Maritime law. Yeah,
anything goes.
Assault life.
You have the prisoners in jail saying, hey, did you hear about this guy, how he got in here?
I have Lehman's father running the entire yard because the rumor has circulated that guy's in here for taking out his son's friend by hitting him in the face with a wet fish. Do you know how unpleasant that is for someone who doesn't want to bait a hook?
Well, you also have to be careful which fish, right? Because some of the fish are scaly and can cut you.
That will cut you. Terrible. I've been hit with a fish.
Yeah.
Accidentally, not slapped with one, but like a fish has flown off out of the water and hit me on a boat. It's not pleasant.
Greg, did you make a spatchcock chicken yesterday?
I did.
How did that turn
did
out?
It come out wonderful. It was perfect. It was the perfect size for my air fryer.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is he?
Thank you.
Izzy.
Thank you. I mean,
Izzy,
Izzy.
you can't
Izzy.
turn the conversation that was that recently with Greg on a boat being hit in the face by a fish.
Fish to chicken. It's a natural
A fish
transition.
that jumped out of the water.
Right.
That wasn't
flying
true. He was
fish?
stuck
I
in
think
midair.
it was a barracuda, but a very small one.
You were not hit in the face by a
It was
barracuda.
like a needlefish or
You were-
something.
Right. Oh, the needlefish.
You were not hit in the face by a flying
Yeah.
barracuda.
It might have been a black shark, but very, very small. I don't mean to over dramatize it.
Right.
You know.
That's right. It's time for Against the Spread. And it's brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear about all that DraftKings has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Lucy, kick us off.
All right, this weekend I am taking Oregon minus 14.5 against Wisconsin. I know that Dan Lanning likes to do funky stuff when he's playing teams that aren't necessarily the best teams you've ever seen. Wisconsin's a bad football team. Iowa scored 40 points on Wisconsin. Iowa scored 40 points on Wisconsin.
That's
so I feel
impossible.
I know. It feels wrong. It happened. So I feel very confident in Oregon minus 14.5 this week against the spread.
Izzy, what do you got?
I am super excited about my against the spread. Last time I did it against the spread, it was back when the Indiana Fever were still in the playoffs. It was the Fever plus 6.5, and I got that right. They only lost by 6.
Wow.
And this one, Dan, the NBA Cup is back tonight, baby. We got the Mavericks and Warriors out in Golden State. That's Clay's return game. They're all going to be wearing little captain's hats because he's Captain Clay. Did you know that? Nobody knew that, really.
Weird.
But I'm going to go with
cute.
Heat Pistons, right? The Heat and Pistons in their first NBA Cup game. The Heat are favored by 1.5. I'm going to pick them to cover. The exciting thing about this game, though, Asar Thompson, who is a second-year player for the Detroit Pistons, like Chris Bosh, had some blood clot issues. He has been cleared to return, and that is great news for Asar Thompson. He and his brother were on the show once.
Against the Spread.
Spread.
Heat minus 1.5.
What's
Billy.
the NBA Cup?
A lot of
Billy, bring us home.
I'm going to pick
much.
the Buffalo Bills minus 2.5 at the Kansas City Chiefs. Or no, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people are saying, hey, the Chiefs are undefeated. They've been blowing everybody out. No, they haven't. It turns out last game they almost lost on a field goal by the Broncos, and then the Chiefs in the last minute blocked it.
Huh.
So I think that there's going to be an upset here, even though they're favored. I'm going to take the Bills minus 2.5 over the Kansas City Chiefs, putting to an end the undefeated season, and Mercury Morris & Co. can celebrate that they will still have the only undefeated season in the NFL against the spread.
Your timing was impeccable there with everybody, working with the group to make music and punctuation on that segment as only you can, Billy.
That was my fault?
I
mean, if I'm the lead singer, the band has to be playing to my tune.
Okay.
So I would be arguing that they were not keeping up with my pace.
Huh.
Also, Mercury Morris no longer with us.
That's fine. You can
R.I.P.
celebrate in heaven.
Yeah.
Damn
Who
right
made you the
can.
lead singer?
Okay.
We could bring him back like Bobby Knight.
Perfectville. Population 1. That's what Mercury always used to say. And they eventually made a sign out of it. Like a, welcome to Perfectville sign. Population 1. Brilliant.
A guy also got a tattoo that said undefeated, unforgotten on his belly.
Really?
Yeah. There's a whole thing.
Okay.
Picture. Big belly he
That's
had.
great.
A lot of
Dolphins got
letters.
that, man. Never take that away from them.
Yep.
Who's trying? I love it when athletes say, they can never take that away from me. People aren't trying to take that away from you. Any athlete who's ever said that, you're paranoid.
Yeah.
They can't take that away from us.
You
Who
can
are
have
they?
it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Stugotz has taken 2 championships from Kevin Durant.
They're probably referring to Stugotz
Well,
and
maybe.
his personal record book, which I can't wait to get my hands on.
Well, thank you, Greg. StugottsBook.com right now if you want to pre-order.
I think it comes out in about 15 days. The books are doing very well around here. I have a couple of funny stories for you guys from Greg Cody earlier in the show. Right before the show started, he, as is his wont, he was complaining about an assortment of things. I asked him how the book was doing. He said it was doing very, very well. And then he looks at me and he says, "And I'm sure you're getting a substantive cut." And I look at him and I'm like, I don't think I've not gotten $1. I don't expect to get $1 from the sales of your book. And he's like, no, you've got a big deal with Mango Publishing. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me call my COO now and ask him. And so I asked him. And of course he says, no, not one single dollar. And then your father complains. He's like, tell him to pay me. Where's my check? And so I say, Bimmel, where is Greg Cody's check? And Bimmel asks the question that is a real neutralizer. Has he invoiced me? And then the answer is, of course, no. So Greg Cody's expecting to be paid for something he hasn't asked to be paid for, and is complaining about not being paid when he hasn't told anybody. When he hasn't told anybody that he hasn't been paid.
What is this? 1965? Who does invoices?
Right.
When I had a conversation with Bimmel, I'm like, cut me 4 checks a year.
Yep.
Pay me quarterly. I'm not invoice. Oh, I was in Monday and Tuesday this week. Let me invoice that. Where's my mimeograph paper so I can invoice something and send it to Bimmel?
It's a trick because he knows you're not going to invoice him.
Right.
Because who does that?
Who
no
does
one.
that?
Right. So it's like kicking the
Invoice.
can down the road. I'm not even certain the invoice would help.
I don't know how to invoice. Where do you buy a piece of paper that says invoice on it?
You just I hate to defend this, Greg, but it is standard practice for contractors and media to send invoices.
Is that right?
With a 30-day deadline for payment. Yeah, you just
better
you
get
just,
on that.
I mean,
you just make it in Google Docs and you write invoice on the top in like big font, and then in little font you
Am
put
I
your name
working
and
on
your
a construction
address,
site?
and then you say pay to, and then you put Metal Arc's address underneath that, and then you put the amount and the rate.
Hang on, I'm taking
and then
notes
the
for him.
total, and then the date, and then an invoice.
I don't
number.
do all that.
It's really easy. I
Okay.
can help you.
And he knows you won't. Right?
I have not filed for mileage at the Miami Herald in 40 years because it's not worth it to me to do all that paperwork and cut through all that red tape so that I can get a check for $30.
You pay for all your flights?
No, he said mileage, driving mileage.
Oh, okay.
Driving mileage. Theoretically,
Greg, that's
when
so
I go
much
to a
money
Dolphin game, I could put in
accumulated.
for mileage. Who cares?
That's a lot of money, actually.
Yes.
Well, but it's not worth my time to do an invoice.
He just
fill out stuff.
he oozes privilege in ways he just doesn't even understand. Like he speaks that so effortlessly. I should get money because you guys should pay me, and I shouldn't abide by any of whatever the rules are to what payment is. I don't need your money in any way. I just want to complain about not getting money.
But why should Greg have to add up the miles? Just trust him. He's Greg
Yes.
Cody. When he tells you the amount of miles and how much gas and how much money he's owed, just trust him.
Because
But
you
he's not
exist.
telling them.
That's why.
Listen, I didn't even know we had mileage. We could do that?
Yes, you can, and I can show you how to do it.
Oh,
I
really?
do it every single week.
All right.
Greg, what would be the amount that you'd be like, okay, this is worth my time?
Well, if I were flying somewhere on
No,
the
with your
company
mileage and driving. The
My
amount,
guess is that
because
you have no idea how much money you're leaving on the
Yeah,
table. But
I'm assuming
I'm
it's a
guessing
lot.
if we added up what your mileage could have been for the last 40 years, you will be shocked by what that
yeah.
number
Keeping
is.
the
you're
Herald
right.
in business, though. Let's not start filing for mileage now.
But Greg doesn't see it that way. He sees it as $22 at a time, and it's a lot of
Right.
work for
Yeah.
$22. That's all he's
Yeah,
saying.
I should
you
ask
know?
for a retroactive mileage and put in an invoice for about $19,000.
I'm about to do it.
You should bankrupt McClatchy
It wouldn't be a big reach.
by
believe me.
by just sending your mileage for the last 40 years. You should have
One invoice.
an attorney, just one itemized invoice for the last 40 years that finishes off McClatchy.
I imagine the budget meetings, and McClatchy's like, why do we have this surplus? And they look, wow, Greg Cody doing us an amazing favor. Never put in mileage once.
I know. Believe me, if they ever threaten to fire me, I'm going to say, do you realize how much money I've saved this company over the last 40 years?
It's going to get you nowhere.
Zero. Yeah. They don't give a shit.
Are you their longest standing employee? Do you know?
Currently, I am, I'm sure.
Wow.
He's sitting.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. I haven't really stopped to figure it out. There may be somebody who, isn't a writer who's like works background, who maybe they're longer than me. I don't know. Do we still have press rooms? Somebody, putting the paper to bed, that kind of guy, or woman. I don't even know.
Wouldn't
if
you
if
have the
papers are
answers?
put to bed anymore?
You would have the answers to these questions.
He really is just ruminating. He's just
talking it out,
How
man.
does
Never
my
been open
newspaper
talking
get
it out.
put out? I don't know. The industry's failing. I'm just floating around on a sea of garbage for the rest of my
never
life
in
as
the
journalism dies.
So you cooked a chicken yesterday.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't brag about it. I would be honest. If it were terrible, I would say so. I was worried that the skin wasn't going to get crisped up because it was marinated in like a lemon rosemary sauce.
But your oven's broken, right? That's why you had to go with the air fryer. You were
Yeah,
nervous about that.
I went with the air fryer, and I was prepared to crisp it up in one of these old-timey Ron Popeil rotisserie mini ovens, which I have and haven't used for like 40 years. I assume it still works. But the air fryer did the trick. Okay, I've only been using an air fryer the last couple of years. It's the best thing that's ever happened.
It's a pretty
in the
great
kitchen.
invention.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just great.
I love that you just sort of discovered it here, though, recently,
Yeah.
right? Because
within the past couple of years.
and you're hard to get to learn anything, to change, to grow. You know what you know. You're comfortable in what you know. You don't need to know anything else.
Right.
So you embarking on a air fryer is a big step for you, is it not? You probably fought the urge to learn for a long time there. You're learning allergic.
Right. No, I that's probably a fair comment. I adopt new things cautiously, but
Reluctantly.
Okay, but when I approve of something new, it has the gold seal. You know what I mean? Another
means
example
nothing.
is I've just recently purchased a digital scale.
Really?
You gold sealed it?
I no longer have to look at a needle.
Wow.
Go
Big
between
day.
numbers. Now it tells me down to the 0.2 of an inch. So I know whether I
Of
weigh
a pound, of a pound, of a
191.4
pound.
ounces.
Of a pound, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And but shouldn't they make it down to the 1/10? Like,
Well,
know?
it sounds like you got a good one.
Yeah,
Mine's
good
just
one.
a 1/10.
Oh,
2/10.
really?
That's incredible.
Depends what you need to measure and weigh.
Yeah, it's you don't like to get on that scale when you're me. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Not after a
but
rotisserie
the scale
chicken.
itself is great.
Right. Golden seal.
Spatchcock chicken.
Yeah. As is the spatchcock chicken in an air fryer.
Does your scale have the thing where it's like programmed person 1, person 2, so you can keep track? Because I always forget, am I person 1 or person 2?
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
And then I go and I'm like, I gained 87 pounds. That's insane. Wasn't me.
That's above my pay grade. I use the scale to, like, I had a propane tank filled the other day for my griddle. And I wanted to weigh my 2 propane tanks to see which was the lighter because to the hand, they both felt exactly the same. So I weighed them both on my digital scale. They were exactly the same. They both weighed 23.2 ounces.
Wow.
What a payoff to the story. Amazing. The fireworks show concludes with the punctuation you were expecting.
The golden seal.
Amazing. The golden seal.